So it's no secret that over the past year, Amazon has made a lot of changes to their shipping requirements, which has created confusion and challenges for both new and experienced sellers when shipping their products into Amazon. Shipping is an increasing cost in most businesses, and if you don't have your shipping processes down pat and systemized, it could be costing you a lot of money and you might not even know it. In this video, I'm going to simplify the process for you and show you how to ship your products to Amazon using both the small parcel UPS and LTL pallet shipping methods. This is the exact process that I use in my business, which has allowed my Amazon store to sell over 52,000 units so far this year. This is going to be a step-by-step click-by-click tutorial of how to list and ship your products inside Amazon Seller Central, how to prep your products according to Amazon's requirements, the shipping supplies you'll need, and how to better understand shipping costs so that you can maximize your profits. Let's get to it. So you've done all the hard work of actually finding the product that's profitable, and now we're going to send it into Amazon. So right here, I'm looking at this given product, Dr. Bronner's liquid soap, and I have it pulled up on Amazon because when we go to list this item in our Amazon selling account, we're going to want to know what price to list this product at. And how do we know that? We can look at the Keep It chart and see what it's selling for. So interestingly enough, I actually found this product at the store, and it turned out that it was currently profitable. So this particular item, it's this one pack. There's multiple variations on the listing at different sizes and pack quantities. And we're going to run through an example of actually sending a one pack into Amazon. But first, we have to know what we're going to sell it for. So as you guys can see from the Keep It chart, this product historically sells for a little bit under $15. However, within the past month or so, this product has been priced at 21 and change. And this is a good opportunity to actually capitalize on the product and make some of our sales. You'd probably want to list this product merchant fulfilled just to capitalize on that price increase. But for our example, we're going to ship it into Amazon and we're going to run through an example of where we price this product. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Amazon as a customer. I have my product pulled up. I have my ASIN number here. Now, there's two spots you can find the ASIN number. Number one is up here in the URL. Number two is you can actually scroll down to the product details and find the ASIN number here. And what I'll want to do is I will copy that ASIN number and I'm going to paste it into my Amazon selling account when I go to list the product. Before that, I want to know what I'm going to price it at. So I don't want to be that one guy to jump on the listing and tank the price. So I'm going to look at what the product is selling for over a historical period of time. And I can see that currently the product is priced new FBA, third party, at $21.88. So I'm going to go ahead and list this product at probably $22.99, a little bit higher, just because it's got a super really good rank. It's got a sales rank of under 500. That tells you that the product is selling like crazy. And this is 500 in the category of beauty. So it's got a really good rank. It's selling really well. And what we're going to do is we're just going to price it at $22.99. And until our inventory actually checks into Amazon, when that inventory becomes available for sale to the customer, we're going to want to price our product higher because we're not going to be making sales while our product is on its way to Amazon. We're only going to be eligible to make sales when our product is actually at Amazon's fulfillment center. And at that point, I would then lower my price to be competitive with the other offers on the listing. You can do this manually, or more commonly, you can do it with an automatic repricer, which is going to auto adjust your price based on where the competitors and other sellers on the listing go. So let's dive into Amazon Seller Central, and we will list this product at our target price and send it into Amazon. All right, so we're inside Amazon Seller Central, and the first thing we're going to want to do is hover to the little sandwich icon in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to click this, hit Catalog, and then from here we're going to press Add Products, and this is where we're going to list our Dr. Bronner soap. So I'm going to take this, paste the ASIN in here, and I'm going to press Search. Now it's going to bring up the product listing on Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and click on this product, and then I'm going to select the new condition, which is the condition of the product that I'm going to sell it in. You're always going to want to sell products in new condition on Amazon. Now, one thing to point out here is something called Amazon product gating, which is a very real issue, especially for new sellers, right? When you first start selling on Amazon, your Amazon selling account is going to be gated and restricted in different products and categories and brands. And because of that, you're going to have limitations on what you can sell. So the beautiful part about Amazon wholesale is that with this model, you are able to get invoices from either the distributor or the brand if you're purchasing from them. And you can use these invoices to get ungated right away in brands and product categories on Amazon. So that's a great selling point of Amazon wholesale. Again, this video is not about Amazon wholesale, but that's something to consider when you're first starting to sell on Amazon. You can't always get that with retail or online arbitrage. Yes, you can get ungated by auto ungating, and slowly over time, as you build up your account, you will get ungated in different products and brands and categories, but it will be a slow process, right? You have to build up your account. You have to continuously apply for these auto ungates, which are products and categories where Amazon will automatically allow you to sell without having to submit an invoice documentation. Now, if you were gated in this product, it would say new, and then you would go here, but it would say apply to sell. Now, because I'm not gated in this product, it says sell this product. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. So I click sell this product, and it brings me to the product here. And if you guys recall, we said that we were going to price this product at $22.95 so that when it goes live on Amazon, it goes live at the $22.95 sell price. So we need to specify some information here to Amazon in order to get this product listed. The first thing they want is the seller SKU. Now, if you don't put anything in here, it will automatically populate with a seller SKU, and it's just going to randomly generate a string of number or letters. When you start to add a lot of products into your inventory, using the seller SKU strategically is going to be your best friend. And what I mean by that is you actually want to have a sequence for what that SKU is going to be, and I'm going to show you my sequences. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the price that I paid for the product, which was $9.50. And then I'm going to put an underscore. And usually I'll put the item number here, but in this case, we didn't actually buy this from a distributor or the brand. I actually bought the product from BJ's when I was in the store. So I'm just going to use, I don't have the item number offhand. I'm just going to call it Dr. Bronner's 1-pack. And then I'm going to do another underscore, and I'm going to put it here, the desired sell price. And if you guys recall, our desired sell price was about $21.85. So $21.85, that was what it was going for competitively at the time we looked. And here I'm going to put in the actual price field, this is what it's actually going to go live for on Amazon, the price that it goes live for right away. So this and this may very well be the same thing, but this for our system, I like to use as, hey, this price is the desired sell price. This is what we wanted to sell it for. And this is what we're just listing it for on Amazon until our inventory is available for the customer to purchase, at which point then we can reprice this down to the $21.85 so that we're competitive with the other sellers. You can ignore the quantity field here. I know it says it's red, but that's going to go away. We're going to hit new because we're selling in a new condition. And as soon as I check Amazon will ship and fulfill and provide customer service, you'll see that that box goes away. If I selected merchant fulfilled, I would have to specify a specific quantity to Amazon. So I'm going to hit Amazon will ship and provide customer service. I'm going to scroll down, and you don't want to select other marketplaces. I actually have a video on global sync with Amazon and why it actually could potentially pose a risk to your account. We personally don't sell in any other marketplaces. I know a lot of sellers do. The reason why we choose not to sell in other marketplaces is because those other marketplaces have different compliance regulations, and the Amazon restricted product policy is different than that of the US. I just choose not to engage in business in those marketplaces. It's too much of a headache. The juice isn't really worth the squeeze to me. There's a lot more compliance in countries like Mexico and Canada that I'm not totally familiar with as a seller, and because of that, we don't do enough sales volume in those countries for it to make sense. Some sellers do, but for us, it doesn't make sense. If you guys want to see a more detailed rationale behind that, I've went ahead and linked my global sync video. So I'm going to go ahead and click save and finish. And from here, it's now going to prompt me to actually ship this product into Amazon. FN SKU, synonymous with Amazon barcode, different from UPC, also known as manufacturer barcode. Why is Amazon requiring a barcode in this product? Well, the reason is because that the product has an expiration date on it. All products that are expirable are required to run under the Amazon FN SKU barcode. And because this one falls into that category, that's what we're going to do. So first thing we're going to want to do is click list as FBA and send to Amazon. If you just wanted to list this product as FBA and you weren't ready to send it into Amazon just yet, you could click this and go back to it at a later point. But for now, we are ready to go and send it into Amazon. So I'm going to go ahead and click list as FBA and send to Amazon. All right, so once you've listed your product, you're now going to be prompted with this page. And there's a lot going on this page, so let's break it down. There's a few things that we talked about earlier on. So the first thing was individual units versus case pack. And for this example, with this Dr. Bronner soap, we are actually going to ship this product as one case of 12. So I'm going to make my life really easy. And instead of selecting individual units, I'm going to create a new case packed template. Just remember, when you're creating a case packed shipment, all of the units within that single box have to be the same item. So I can't send in one box, Dr. Bronner soap, and then this chapstick. I have to send all of the same SKU in the one box. So individual units, different story. I can send mixed SKUs in that same box. So first thing we're going to do is select create a new case pack shipment. And I'm just going to call this Dr. Bronner case of 12. And it doesn't matter what you call the packing template. That's for your own reference. So we're going to pack 12 units into this box. Now, with the case packed shipment, Amazon is going to prompt us for some information. Amazon wants to know what is the box dimensions and the box weight. Well, I don't know that until I actually pack these units into the box. So that's exactly what we're going to do now is in the warehouse, we're going to pack this box up, 12 units in the box, see how much the box weighs, what are the box dimensions, and we're also going to prep the units. So we don't want to put all those units in the box prior to actually prepping them. So we're going to walk through how to prep these units, and we are going to prep them. We don't want to pay Amazon to prep them, because if we selected by Amazon, then we don't have to prep the units ourselves, but Amazon is going to charge us a way higher fee than it would cost ourselves to do in order for them to prep those units. So we're going to select prep by seller, and we're also going to select label by seller. That's because this item, it's an expirable product and it requires an Amazon barcode. So on our Dymo printer, we are going to print those FN SKU labels out of our printer and we're going to apply them to the units. It's important to note that this needs to be consistent with this. So whoever preps the units also has to label the units. So if you select by seller, prep the units, you're also going to want to label the units. If you select by Amazon, you'll also have to select Amazon to label those units. Now, we work with a lot of different suppliers that do ship directly to Amazon. And because that is a substantial cost saving from a shipping standpoint, from paying our warehouse staff to prep and ship products, sometimes we will have Amazon actually label the items for that fee. But other times we will run many of our products under the UPC barcode where we don't have to pay anybody to label the products. That's because the product has its own UPC barcode. And because of that, Amazon allows it to run through that UPC and we don't have to pay for the additional label fee. Now, let's dive into the warehouse where we're going to learn how to prep these Dr. Bronner soaps. What is the prep work required? Amazon is saying polybagging, and double seal. So let's dive in how to do that. Let's pack up the box, get our weight and dimensions, and then we'll dive back into this screen share and input all of the information. Let's do it. All right, everyone, we're in the warehouse here. We have our product, Dr. Bronner's soap. And as we pointed out in the screen share, we have to identify the prep procedure. So how are these items being packaged and sent into Amazon? We have to print our FNSKU labels, and then we have to package all of these up into the shipping box and then ship that box into Amazon. So there's a few things I want to point out here, right? So we said we have one case of 12 units. So I got my 12 units right here, and eventually I'm just going to pack this out into a box. But before I do that, I actually have to prep these items according to Amazon's guidelines. So over here on my left-hand side, I have my poly bags, and that is a requirement by Amazon, is that these items need to go into a poly bag. Otherwise, they're not compliant with Amazon's terms. Another thing I want to point out is the top of this bottle, right? So you see here, this bottle can flip up and down at any time. You can also see that it comes up, and of course, there's going to be a seal on it. Now, for products like this that have this flippable lid, I don't have it with me here today, but as you guys can see from a pop-up on the screen, there is something called a gripper that you're going to want to apply from this side of the bottle to this, and it's going to go over the bottle here, and it's going to cover the top of the bottle. That way this doesn't break open when Amazon is tossing boxes around. As we all know, Amazon is very careful with handling packages, so we have to make sure that we're covering this with one of those grippers. It's also a requirement by Amazon. You can buy those things on Amazon. They're real cheap. So again, I don't have them here with me today, but we will, if you're actually shipping these into Amazon, that's something you'll want to do. So assuming we have our gripper on top of these bottles, the next thing we're going to do is we have already identified that this item has to run under the FNSKU or Amazon barcode. Why is that? Well, it's a requirement by Amazon. The product has an expiration date, and as a result of that, you need to prep this with an FNSKU on it. If you guys can take a look here, you'll see there is in fact a UPC code. And this is the manufacturer's barcode, but we're not able to use that with Amazon. So what we're gonna do is we are going to take our bottle, assuming it has that gripper on it, and for our example here, I'm just gonna pretend this is one of those gripping tools, and I'm gonna apply this right over the top of the bottle. So like as you guys can see, this is what it would be. It would just go across the sides here. It just provides a little bit more reinforcement for the lid. So I'm gonna take this bottle, I'm going to put it into my poly bag here, and I'm gonna take the seal off of my poly bag, and I'm going to put it around the poly bag here nice and snug. Now, a couple things to point out here. I am using 9 by 12 inch poly bags, which is the appropriate size for a bottle like this. And you'll also note here on the poly bag is there is a warning label. And that warning label is called a suffocation warning. Again, this is another requirement by Amazon. You guys need to buy your poly bags with warning labels on them, and if they don't have warning labels, you need to take a sticker and apply a warning label to it. That's going to protect you because, God forbid anything happens, you want to be TOS compliant, you want to make sure you're doing everything by the book. That's what's going to keep you in business for a long time with Amazon. So you have your bottle here, it's all wrapped up, and we pointed out that there was this UPC on the bottle. Now, I could do one of two things, right? I could take a blank label here, and this is just a blank Avery 30 up sheet, and I can peel this off, and I can actually apply it over the UPC code so that there's no sort of double scan by Amazon. That being said, as you can see here, there's a whole bunch of great information on this bottle that the manufacturer provides the customer with. Ingredients, directions, and so on. So I don't really want to cover all that information with this, right? So instead of doing that, in this particular case, because the UPC is so small, and because I can get it nice and snug into the poly bag, I can actually, when we go to print our FNSKUs, which we will here in a moment, I can actually apply that FNSKU over this bottle as so. That way I'm not taking out any of the ingredients or any information from the manufacturer. So we will go ahead and print our labels. There's just one more thing I want to point out about the bottle itself. If you guys can take a look here and look at the UPC code, and then over to the right of that, you'll see a little lid icon. And above that lid icon, it says 24M. So what does that mean, right? Well, a little pro tip for you is that when a manufacturer creates a product, there's a certain lot number that's associated with it. If you're an arbitrage seller and you just got this from like BJ's, like I did in this case, you're not going to know exactly what the expiration date is. So rather than getting it to the day, just probably take, the date that you purchased the item on and add 24 months to it and input that information to Amazon. It doesn't need to be 100% accurate to the day, but chances are customers are going to use this bottle way before it ever expires in 2 years. If you're doing Amazon wholesale, you have all of that direct information because you're either working with the distributor or you're working with the brand directly in order to get that expirable information. So just a quick note there, if you ever see a bottle, you don't have an expiration date, go ahead and look and see if there is that kind of a lid icon on the bottle. So, all right, we've covered everything that we need to cover. Next thing we got to do is we got to print our item labels, our FNSKU labels. So let's jump over here to the computer and print our labels. All right, everyone, so we're about to print our FNSKU barcode labels. And one thing I want to point out is that we are dealing with a product that expires. So a couple things we can do here, right? Technically, according to their requirements, is that you have to print the expiration date in 36-point size font on one of these 30-up sheets of labels. Now, do we do that? No. And a lot of people don't do that because while Amazon writes it into their TOS, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to do that exactly. You should, however, print the expiration date on your item label. So you can do one of two things. If you don't have a shipping software like Inventory Lab or Boxum, or a shipping software where you can talk to Amazon and say, this is our expiration date, that shipping software will, in fact, print those item labels with the expiration date on the item label. Now, you cannot print an expiration date in Seller Central on the physical item label. So if you are printing expiration dates in Seller Central, you will need to use this piece of paper, which you can just install right into your regular printer and use size 36-point font and print the expiration date right on these labels. It is going to be another label that you have to apply. So if you have a lot of units that you're sending into Amazon, it could be a little bit more time consuming. But for our example purposes, I'm just going to print those labels right to our Dymo printer, which is going to run through Inventory Lab because that's a software that we're using right now to do that. And let's print them right to our Dymo. So you're going to go ahead and hit print SKU labels right here. It's going to bring up a page at which point you would need to print to your thermal printer. This is our specific size setting. Yours may be different depending on the printer that you have and the computer. So you're going to print your item labels, and we said that we were printing out 5 cases of 12, so 60 units, and I'm going to go ahead and hit print. It's going to download my label document. I'm going to open this up, print it out to my Dymo printer, and I'm going to go ahead and print that. So those will print now to the Dymo printer, and as you can see here, there is no expiration date on the label. So what do we have to do? We have to print to that 30-up sheet that we talked about. And then you'd go ahead and put your EXP date in here, which is 2 years from today, and you'd be ready to send. All right, guys, so we now have our FNSKU labels that we've printed out from our computer and back to the prep station with our bottle that's in the poly bag. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take the FNSKU label off, and remember we talked about there was a UPC on the packaging, and that is visible. So we don't want that to be visible by Amazon because then we're at risk of a double scan, and Amazon doesn't like that. So we want to just take our FNSKU label, apply it right over there, and provided the poly bag is secure enough and tight, there's not really going to be a whole lot of movement with that label, so it's just going to cover the UPC barcode itself. So now before we pack these into the box, I have to poly bag the rest of these bottles and label everything else. So let's do it. Let's go over a quick supplies checklist. Here's some things that you're going to need as an Amazon seller when you're shipping your products into Amazon. Number one is tape. You're going to use tape all the time to pack up your boxes and various other things running your business. Poly bags. So for the product that we're prepping, these are going to go into poly bags that you're going to seal. Make sure those poly bags have suffocation warnings on them in order to be Amazon terms of service compliant. FNSKU labels, an absolute must. These are just Avery printing labels. You can also use these 30 up label sheet if you want as well, and you want to just apply these right into your printer. This is a string of labels because we printed them to our Dymo. But again, FNSKU labels are a must-have, so you'll need the printing paper for those labels. Boxes as well. So we need boxes of various sizes that we're actually going to physically put our products in and then ship them out into Amazon. You want to make sure those boxes are corrugated, meaning that they have multiple layers of support here, as opposed to getting those boxes that are flimsy. You definitely won't want to use those because your product might get damaged on the way into Amazon. Next thing, of course, is the physical product itself, and the more products you acquire, the more money you're going to make. And a couple final things that you'll need are printers. So you will need a printer such as a Rollo printer or a Zebra printer to actually print your thermal shipping labels that are going to go onto the boxes. You'll also want to get a Dymo to print your FNSKU labels through that Dymo. Again, if you don't want to get a Dymo, or it's just easier for you to print your labels on this 30 up sheet of paper, you can load this right into a regular printer and then print that out, and that is perfectly fine as well. Final thing you want to get is a scale. You got to be able to weigh your boxes. So when I first started, I was actually weighing my boxes on a personal scale. So I would weigh myself on the scale, and I would pick up the box, and then I would step onto the scale, and I would subtract the weight of myself from the total weight of me holding the box. Now we have an industrial shipping scale that we just place the box on, and it reads us the exact weight. So those are the main things you'll need for shipping supplies. Again, you don't need to overcomplicate it. If you have all those things, you will be perfectly ready to send your first shipment into Amazon and many more. All right, now that we've entered everything into our Seller Central shipment for the number of units in the case, we've told Amazon that this is a case-packed shipment. We have input our weight and dimensions of the case. We have printed our FNSKU labels. At this point, we're going to tell Amazon how many boxes we are sending, and we're going to tell them what the expiration date is. So for this example, we are going to ship 5 boxes, and the reason why I want to ship 5 boxes is because I want to show you the 2 primary shipping options that Amazon gives you. This was once 3 primary shipping options, which was the optimized method, the partial shipment split method, and the minimal shipment split method. Now, when you ship optimized, you have to ship at least 5 case packs of the same SKU inside of those cases, and Amazon says that right here. So to be eligible for an Amazon optimized option, you must send at least 5 cartons or 5 pallets of each item in your shipping plan. Each carton or pallet must contain the same quantity per item and the same item mix to qualify, meaning that in this case, the 5 cases, you have to include the same item and the same quantity. So it can't be 5 cases, each of those cases containing a different number of units. It's going to have to be the 5 cases of 12 units, right? Why do we want to make this optimized placement option eligible? Well, that's because with the optimized method, you do not pay a inbound placement fee. It is free from a inbound placement fee standpoint. Now, why does that matter? Well, with the 3 options of shipping into Amazon, now 2, because Amazon is phasing out their partial shipment split method. When you send optimized, we've already said that it is free from an inbound placement fee standpoint. When you send minimal split, you are going to pay a per unit fee. So this is a fee that you get hit with when your units are going into Amazon's warehouse. And depending on what the item is, you're going to pay a different fee based on the size of the item. And we will see that subsequently as we go through our shipment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 5. boxes here and tell Amazon that I'm shipping 5 boxes into their FC. If I put 1 box here, I would not be eligible for the optimized method because I'm not shipping at least 5 boxes. I'm only shipping 1 box, and therefore by default, I am going to go to the minimal split method, 1 fulfillment center that Amazon's going to send my inventory to. And being that I purchased this product around March 1st, I'm just going to say this expiration date was March 1st of 2027, right? That is 2 years in the future. Which is plenty of time for this product to sell on Amazon, and it is fully compliant with Amazon's expiration date policy. So according to Amazon's expiration date policy, the Amazon FBA expiration date policy requires that products have a remaining shelf life of at least 90 days after being delivered to the customer. So that means there needs to be 90 days of use for the product at minimum after the customer receives it. So just keep this in mind, especially for grocery products. It's probably not something you have to worry too much with topicals because those tend to have a longer shelf life. But with grocery products, especially if you're selling things like candy or chocolates around the holiday season, you definitely want to make sure you are compliant with Amazon's expiration date policy. Now, we are at a March 1st, 2027 expiration date. I have 5 boxes going into Amazon. I have my case packed shipment entered. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit ready to send. And from here, it's going to bring me through. I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm and continue. So as Amazon's loading all this in, you see we are already being met with 2 options. That's because, as we said, Amazon is phasing out and entirely getting rid of their partial placement option, which is where you send your inventory to 2 to 3 fulfillment centers for a middle-of-the-road tier fee. And now that option is completely out of the equation here. So we are selecting our shipping date. So let's say, we're shipping it today, and this is not binding. So it doesn't really matter what shipping date you want to put within reason, so I don't want to tell Amazon I'm going to ship this next year. I would just put it, within a couple days is fine. So whatever the date is that I'm shipping it, I'm going to go ahead and select that. At this point, Amazon will give me the different placement options. So let's take a look at this and break this down a little bit further. So we have lowest cost for small parcel delivery, and then we have lowest cost option for LTL. I can tell you guys right now that because we're only sending in 5 boxes into Amazon, it's not going to make sense to send an LTL shipment into Amazon. We will run through an example after this small parcel of what an LTL shipment would look like, but that is where you're shipping much higher volume. So it has to make sense to actually pile all of those boxes up onto a pallet, wrap that pallet up, and from a weight standpoint, it's got to make sense to send the product LTL. So it just means you need to be sending in more units to ship LTL. Now, we have optimized and we have minimal split. So we have our ship from address out in beautiful Beverly Hills, California. Now, that is obviously on the West Coast. Now, I'm going to want to compare this from 5 locations to 1 location, but I definitely want to check this and select the West Coast in this case. That's because if I select East Coast, it is going to send my inventory to an East Coast FC at a lower placement fee. But the shipping cost is going to be higher because I have to send it all the way across the country to the East Coast. Now, in the West Coast option, I am paying a higher fee at $29.40. I'm still paying a shipping fee. It's considerably lower, but look at my placement fee. My placement fee is $29.40, and my placement fee here is $16.20. But my shipping cost is almost $100. And if we select West Coast, my placement fee shoots down to $29 and my shipping cost shoots down to $50. So what is the placement fee? Well, we can break this down on a per unit level. So let's see. If we send this item to a West Coast fulfillment center at $29.40 per piece, we said that we're sending in 60 units, so $29.40 divided by 60 is 49 cents versus an East Coast placement fee of $16.20 divided by 60 is 27 cents. So that is a flat rate fee that is applied on the per unit level on the way into Amazon. So this Amazon fee takes place before the sale, right? So we're going to select the lowest cost option whenever we have this opportunity. Now, this is the lowest cost option here, but I'm still cheaper going to 5 locations. So that's now essentially what I'm going to select. Because we've analyzed our minimal shipment split option, we've determined that sending it to one location, it is in fact cheapest to go to the West Coast FC because we're paying a lower shipping cost. We are paying a little bit of a higher placement fee because it is a little bit more costly on the per unit level to send your inventory to a West Coast FC. That being said, it works out to the total cheapest option at $80.96. However, when we compare that to the Amazon optimized method going to 5 locations, it is about $9 cheaper. So we're going to go ahead and select Amazon optimized. And now you can see down here, it is giving us the information to 5 FCs. So when we go ahead and run our shipment, so I'm going to go ahead and hit accept charges and confirm shipping. All right, so at this point, we have accepted the charges, and we now have to print our box labels in Seller Central, and then we're going to apply them to the physical boxes. It's important to note that the shipment name, when you send a shipment through the Amazon Seller Central workflow, will rename to this date and FBA. We want to rename that to what we're sending this case pack shipment. So I'm going to call it Dr. Bronner's. And why do I want to do that? Well, we send a lot of case pack shipments from our brands. And because of that, we want to see in the shipping queue, when we go to look back on what we've sent into Amazon, at an initial glance, what did we send? So if I go into the shipping queue and I take a look at what we have sent, if I want to see what our warehouse team has sent into Amazon, at an initial glance, I have no idea what this is, right? I don't know what the product is. But I can initially look at this and be like, oh, okay, the Dr. Bronner's soap came in and the warehouse prepped it and they already sent it into Amazon. So we're golden with that, right? So I'm going to do the same thing for all 5 of these shipment options. Now, let me paste these in here. And then once I'm done doing that, I'm actually going to print each set of box labels, print them to our printer, and apply them to the boxes, and then they're going to go straight onto the UPS truck. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. We have a thermal Rollo 4x6 label printer. I highly suggest using that or a similar printing model like a Zebra or some sort of a thermal printer where you can print 4x6 labels. In the beginning, we were printing them on an 8.5 letterhead piece of paper, and that would just, we would cut the paper and print it to a normal printer, and then that would just get taped onto the boxes. I don't recommend doing that. It's way more efficient to print right to a thermal 4x6 and go ahead and print the labels. Now we press print, and here is our set of labels. So we will go ahead and print this to our printer and then apply this to each one of the boxes. So a couple important things to point out here on the label. And what this tells you is that there are going to be 2 labels for every box that you send into Amazon, small parcel. Your Amazon partnered carrier label, which is this, and your UPS label, which is this. This is the carrier label that the UPS driver is going to scan in order to get your products from you to Amazon. And this is the label that Amazon wants to see on the boxes so that they know what's coming, right? And there's a few important points to note here. It does have your ship from address. It also has the Amazon FC that it's going to. It shows the weight of the box here. And of course, it also shows the weight of the box down here and the dimensions of the box right here. So let's print these to our printer. Let's apply them to the boxes and let's get them out the door on the UPS truck and into Amazon. All right, guys, so that's it. We have fully boxed up our bottles of soap, polybagged them, prepped them out, labeled them, made sure to apply our grippers. I know we didn't do it for this example because I don't have them, but if you send a bottle into Amazon, you are going to want to put those grippers on them. Everything's prepped, boxed up, boxes taped. We have our UPS label and our Amazon box label, our partnered carrier label, and we're ready to go. All that's got to be done now is you either take this box and you bring it to your UPS store, or your UPS driver picks it up and it's off to Amazon's warehouse and we can start making money. So let's dive into our LTL example for shipping pallets into Amazon, and we'll see you inside. All right, so we're back inside Amazon Seller Central here, and one important point that I want to note here is, let's say you made a mistake in your shipment, right? You told Amazon you're sending the wrong number of units, and whatever the mistake was, you made it, right? It's not the end of the world. All you have to do is for a UPS shipment within 24 hours, if you hit this button, cancel shipments, it will allow you to just cancel the shipment and you can redo it. And Amazon will reimburse you the funds right away if you cancel this within 24 hours. So if you're past 24 hours, you could still cancel the shipment. However, in order to get the funds back from Amazon, you will just have to open a case with Amazon and then they will grant you the funds. They just won't automatically grant you the funds because you didn't do it within 24 hours. So it's not the end of the world if you make a mistake. So now let's dive into our next example where we're going to do the same product, same thing, except this time we're actually going to send LTL shipment. All right, so we're going to take the same exact approach we just did, except we're going to be sending an LTL shipment now. When does an LTL shipment make sense? Well, generally speaking, an LTL shipment makes sense, meaning palletized, so you're shipping your products in pallets into Amazon. It makes sense when you're sending a lot more inventory into Amazon. So rather than just sending 60 units, 12 boxes of 5 into Amazon, in this example, we're going to explore actually if we were to send 50 boxes into Amazon, which is going to be 600 units, and we're going to see how that affects the shipping cost from an LTL versus small parcel standpoint. So you guys might be saying, well, what if I have all these different items, right? Maybe I don't just sell one item, I sell many items. And that's the case for us too, right? We sell many items, but because our business model for us is brand direct wholesale, and what we do is we procure these products from brands, and the brands don't have a ton of SKUs that we work with, right? So maybe they'll have, one as low as one SKU, or maybe as high as 20 SKUs, right? And for the higher 20 SKUs, maybe we'll send an individual case-packed shipment of all 20 of those different SKUs, mix them all together, throw them in the box, right? But for many of our brands, we will send case-packed shipments. Now, maybe if you're an arbitrage seller and you only have onesie, twosie units that you've gotten from the store, and you're putting all of those units into a single box in order to send to Amazon, it is literally the same exact process that we just did, except the interface is just a little bit different. So if we were to hypothetically send an individual unit packed shipment, same deal here. We're going to prep everything. We're going to label everything. We're going to just got to specify to Amazon here that we're going to do that, acknowledge that here, and then hit save. Now, I just want to show you what this might look like as an individual shipment, just so you can be familiar with the workflow. So let's say, again, we were sending in those 60 units, and we're going to dive into our LTL example in just a moment here. But let's say we're sending those 60 units as an individual unit shipment, and we're going to hit ready to pack. Now, the only difference is you're providing the box information in a subsequent step. So I'm going to go ahead and hit pack individual units. So in this example, we would be sending multiple different products in the same box. So we're actually going to specify to Amazon that we can either tell them that everything will fit in one box or multiple boxes will be needed. If multiple boxes are needed, we're going to go ahead and hit confirm. Now let's say it is 5 boxes, right? We're going to open Amazon's web form, and this might look a little bit confusing, but it's actually really simple. All you're going to do is you're going to select the number of units and input in here how many units you're sending in each of these boxes. Now, if you had multiple items, they would appear underneath here, and you would, again, just follow this chart and input your units accordingly as they're packed out into the box. So when you're in your warehouse or your house, your basement, wherever you're working out of, you're taking your units, you're putting them all into the box. All you have to do is just input this information in Seller Central as you're doing it, and it's pretty simple. Now that we've gotten all 60 of our units packed, all we have to do is specify to Amazon what our weight is. Let's say 24 pounds here, and our dimensions, and we just have to check these boxes showing that we are confirming all this information to Amazon. Now, if you had a box that had different dimensions, all you have to do is add that here, input all that information here. If you needed to select this as a different box, you go ahead and hit this, and then you can basically do all this. Because we have the same the same units or the same box weight and dimensions. Amazon is auto selecting everything here. But again, we can reset the form, do it all again, and very, very simple. So let's say, we have all our units in here. So all we'll have to do is hit confirm the packing information, and now we will be brought to this page where we'll click confirm and continue. At this point, it will bring us to the next step of the process, which is, in fact, to purchase our shipping labels and do exactly what we just did. And now let's wait for this to populate for just a second here. Select our shipping date, and we are met with, in fact, the same exact shipping cost because we're shipping the same exact quantity in the same exact box weight and dimensions. No difference. It's just an individual unit shipment, right? So in this case, we have the optimized method option, which is in fact $71. That's because we're sending all the same SKU. We called it individual units, but we're still sending all the same SKU. If we had, I got my Dr. Bronner soap here. If we had this Dr. Bronner soap, but then we also had, this chapstick, right? And, this keyboard mouse that we were selling on Amazon. If we had all these different products that we were packaging into one box or multiple of those boxes with mixed SKUs, this option right here would not be available. You'd be going to one location. So that's why, I always like to send case packed shipments when we can. It just can save a lot on costs. It's very simple. All you have to do is tell Amazon, hey, here's how many units we're sending into the warehouse. Here's how many units are going in a case. Here's your case weight and dimensions. Boom, boom, boom. And then it's done, right? We get standard packouts from our suppliers in those preset cases already. So we're not using tons and tons of supplies. If we do have to repack them into our own cases, we have some boxes on hand with standard sizes that those units will go into. So I find that the case packed shipment is a very simple option, but I still wanted to show you that individual unit option just in case maybe you are an arbitrage seller and you do ship multiple units in the same box into Amazon, or maybe wholesale and you carry a lot of SKUs. Same thing, multiple units in the same box. So without further ado, let's dive into our LTL example. All right, so we're back up here on our Dr. Bronner's soap, and now we're going to send this as an LTL shipment. So I'm going to go ahead and swap back to my case packed, and as we mentioned, we're actually going to send this here as 50 boxes, so 600 units total. And let's see what prompts us if this is enough for an LTL shipment, which my prediction is that it will be. That's quite a bit of units. That's a lot of weight. You got to remember these are 25-ounce bottles, so you're looking at like 2 pounds a piece almost. And let's see what Amazon is prompting us to do. And Amazon is already auto defaulting to the LTL option. So I've selected my shipping date and they're defaulting to LTL, which tells me it's probably going to be cheapest LTL. For my own curiosity, I'd like to know how this compares to small parcel. So I can just go ahead and hit small parcel. Small parcel shipping optimized is going to cost me $715. Small parcel shipping to the West Coast is going to be cheapest at $715. So pretty much no difference here. They're both the same in this particular case. Now, if we jump back to LTL, well, we have actually a cost LTL of $864 going to 5 locations. That's because we're going to send 5 pallets to 5 locations. That's going to be a lot of money. We have to be shipping multiple full truckloads really for that to make sense, or close to full truckloads for that to make sense. So we're going to be prompted here with the minimal shipment split option at the cheapest of $571.60. Again, cheaper than going to the east, cheaper than going to central. That's because the cost of shipping is in fact lower than the placement fee, and it works out to be cheapest to the West Coast as expected because we are shipping from the West Coast. I'm going to click this LTL. I'm saving quite a bit of money here by sending this LTL. 571 versus our our 715. So quite a substantial cost saving there. So now we are going to prompt our way through the LTL shipment, and Amazon is in fact prompting us to ship this to 1FC ABQ2 coming from our place in California. Now, the first thing I'm going to do
is I'm going to hit confirm shipping destinations. Now this is going to load in, and then I'm going to be prompted with some subsequent information here. All right, now once Amazon has populated the information, first thing again I want to do is swap this out, put in my Dr. Bronner's soap, just so I know what we're dealing with from a product standpoint. And then I got to print my labels, right? Same deal here. However, you're going to print these labels, and as you'll see, once I click print, it's going to give me my box labels, but there are no UPS labels. Why is that? Well, we're not sending this shipment through UPS. We're sending it LTL via Amazon partnered carrier. Now, UPS is also Amazon partner carrier for LTL. Amazon works with many different carriers as their partner, and because you're shipping through Amazon and buying the shipping through Amazon, you're going to get those cost savings by shipping UPS through small parcel. You are also going to get those cost savings by shipping through Amazon partner carrier by going LTL. So with these box labels, it's going to actually print 50 of these box labels, because we said we're sending 50 boxes of 12, 600 units. And each of these box labels you are going to apply to the boxes, at which point then we will put them on the pallet. So you're going to take all these, print all these box labels out just as we did before, but you're going to apply them to the boxes themselves, and they're going to go, and then once you've done that, you're then going to pile the boxes up onto the pallet in a configuration that makes sense. We will explore, and you guys will see on the screen of how we're piling these boxes onto the pallet in a way that makes sense from a logistics standpoint. So let's go ahead and print these box labels, apply them to our boxes.
All right, guys, I have my pallet here behind me. Everything is packed up and ready to go. I have my box labels on the boxes. I have my pallet, and this is configured in such a way that is great for logistics because everything is smooth and even. That's the other thing, you know, when you're wrapping the pallet or when you're configuring your boxes on the pallet, you just want to make sure, you know, everything is kind of even. It doesn't need to be exact, but like you don't want boxes just like hanging off the pallet or being all over the place. So this is pretty much even. It takes, you know, the weight is distributed fairly evenly on the pallet itself, so we shouldn't run into any issues with, you know, damages or anything like that. First thing I want to point out is Amazon's pallet requirements. So I have a tape measure here with me, and if you recall from earlier in the video, I talked about how Amazon's pallet requirements are 48 inches in length, 40 inches in width, and a maximum of 72 inches in height because we have to meet that clearance of a tractor trailer. So let's just do a quick measurement on our pallet here just to make sure we are within code for Amazon. And I got 48 inches there, and I have 40 inches here, and my height is, and just so you guys know, the height is from the bottom of the pallet to the top of your boxes here, and my height is right around 33 inches. So we're perfectly within code from Amazon. Take a note when you're out in your warehouse or your garage, wherever you're packing up your pallet, just make a note of your height, and you might want to just relay that to your team, or when you go back into Seller Central, you're going to have to tell Amazon what that height is. So 33 inches is our height. The other component is the weight of the pallet. So a very easy way to get your weight of the pallet is to take the weight of one box, put it on your scale, weigh it, and then total up the weight. So I have this box here, and I have 25 of these boxes. So when we go back into the screen share, I'm going to show you guys, all we're going to do is we're just going to take 25 times the weight of our boxes here, and we're going to input that into our weight in Seller Central. One thing you want to add to that weight is the weight of the pallet itself, and generally speaking, pallets usually weigh about 45 pounds or so. So I'll add, you know, 45 to 50 pounds to that shipment. So we're going to take the weight of all of our boxes, total that up. We're going to take the pallet weight, so we're going to add 45 pounds to it. And we're going to take our 33 inch height, and we're going to input all of that information into Amazon. So before we dive back into Seller Central, let's go ahead and wrap up our pallet, because really the only thing that's left to do is wrap this pallet and apply the 4 pallet labels to each side. And just so you guys know, the pallet labels go here, here, on the other side, and then on this side. And that allows the pallet to be within code for Amazon, and you can print those pallet labels directly in Seller Central once you complete this portion of the shipment. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up my pallet now. I have my pallet wrap here, which you can get this stuff at either Home Depot or, you know, Amazon. You could really get it anywhere. But this is pretty good, strong wrap. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna even this out a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove my jack so that I'm able to walk around all sides of the pallet when I'm wrapping it. And I'm gonna take my pallet wrap here, and like I said, I'm just gonna give myself a little bit of slack here. So you'll wanna pull this apart a little bit, and the first thing you wanna do is just for a little bit of extra safety and security. This isn't an absolute must, but it's probably a smart thing to do, is you just take this and go ahead and just tie it in a knot. I'm kind of jumbled up here, but, and then that way you got a little bit of extra security there to start wrapping the pallet. You know, not a extreme must, but just something to help out. So now all I'm literally gonna do is I'm just gonna go around all 4 sides of this pallet, and I'm going to, you probably want to provide yourself with a little bit more space than I'm providing myself right now, but I'm just gonna go wrap around and we'll get this pallet wrapped up. All right, guys, we have our pallet completely wrapped up. The final step is just to print our pallet labels in Seller Central and slap them around all 4 sides of the pallet, and then your driver will come. And as we pointed out in the screen share, you will need a bill of lading document. You'll want to print that physical document, and you're going to want to give 1 copy to the driver, retain 1 copy for yourself. Driver will stamp it, sign it, and then your pallet will be off to Amazon so that you could really start bringing in those profits. And that's what Amazon is all about. Amazon FBA scaling is economies of scale. So the more pallets you can ship into Amazon, the bigger your business is going to grow, the more you're going to save on shipping, and the more money you are going to make for your business. And it's a great process, but it all starts with shipping your first product. So let's dive back into the screen share and finalize this LTL shipment. And at this point, we already wrapped up the pallet. So now all that's left to do is specify to Amazon the pallet weight and dimensions, as well as the number of pallets that we're sending. And then we have to print our pallet labels. So first thing we're going to do is, we said out in the warehouse that we are shipping 25 boxes at 24 pounds a piece, which works out to 600 pounds. So we have 1 pallet at 600 pounds and then another pallet at 600 pounds. So in this example, we're going to send 2 pallets, each of which is going to contain 25 boxes. So totaling our 50 boxes in the shipment. So the pallet that I showed you guys out in the warehouse, we would create a duplicate pallet, exact same thing as that, and just put those boxes on another pallet. Now you might be wondering, why didn't we just put everything on 1 pallet? And traditionally we would have done that. However, for the purposes of this video and packing up our boxes, I didn't complete the entire shipment out in our warehouse. I just wanted to show you guys a hands-on walkthrough example. So I've packed the 25 cases onto the 1 pallet. But yes, you would want to see if you can fit all 50 of those boxes on 1 pallet as opposed to shipping them on 2 pallets. I think it's good for example purposes for you guys to see 1 and 2 pallets here. But again, You want to consolidate these shipments as much as possible. So we would likely be able to ship all of this on one pallet, and it would probably work out to about 66 inches in height, maybe a little bit more. So we would still be below that clearance of 72 inches in height. So we have to specify to Amazon that these are weighing 600 pounds per pallet. The height is 33 inches. They are non-stackable pallets, meaning we don't want Amazon to stack anything on top of these pallets. It's one of them. So we could alternatively do this and subtract this out and then put 2 here. You could certainly do that, or you could just do 1 and 1. Doesn't make a difference. Freight class is going to be left blank here, so you don't want to put anything in here because we're using Amazon Partnered Carrier. They're going to estimate everything here. And in this section here, you will want to put your name. When you hit change contact, you'll be prompted to put your name, your phone number, and your email address. The reason for this is so that you can contact the carrier and the carrier can contact you for the bill of lading. So Amazon is going to generate what's called a bill of lading, which is a document, as we pointed out in the video, that both you and the driver will retain when they come to pick up that pallet for you or multiple pallets. It will also confirm that the driver has picked those pallets up, loaded them on the truck, and shipped them into Amazon. And you're going to need to print out a physical copy of that BOL because the driver will need it, as will you. Now, leave this blank. Again, we have our weight, our height, our non-stackable pallets, and the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and hit confirm. Okay, so now that we have hit confirm shipment, Amazon is going to prompt us with a date selection for pickup. So in recording this, I'm recording this on Wednesday, and we have to give Amazon a little bit of time to populate everything and send the truck out. So they're not allowing us to schedule it for tomorrow, so we can either schedule it for Friday or Monday. So I'll go ahead and schedule it for Friday. Our carrier is listed right here. Looks like Amazon's partner carrier is AMZX. Not sure exactly which carrier that is. You could also click change carrier, and it looks like you have a few options here. Does not make sense. We obviously want to go with the cheapest option, which is significantly cheaper at $277.60. So you will see who that carrier is on the bill of lading once you complete this shipment. Now, I'm not going to click this because it's going to charge our account, and then we're going to have to go back and delete the charges. So at this point, the only thing left to do is hit confirm carrier and pallet information. And now you will be able to print those pallet labels and apply the 4 pallet labels on all 4 sides of the pallet after that pallet has been wrapped. So we will select this for a Friday pickup. We will confirm our details and print the pallet label. One thing to note is that our cost of this shipment is $277.60. And one thing I just remembered, guys, is I actually did not add the weight of this pallet itself. So I'm actually going to go back here real quick and add in that weight of the pallet, which was 45 pounds. So we have 645 pounds, 2 pallets, both at a height of 33 inches. So this is a perfect example. I made a mistake. I didn't put the weight of the pallet. So now I just got to jump back and do that before I confirm the details. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm on this again. It may increase the cost just a little bit. Let's see what Amazon comes back at us with. Nope, same thing. So it wasn't a huge difference, but you still will want to input the weight of the pallet, especially if you're shipping multiple pallets at a time. So now all that's left to do is hit this, print the pallet labels, apply them to the pallet, and we're off and running. Truck driver will come, pick it up. We will have a bill of lading printed for him. He'll stamp it, sign it. We retain a copy. He retains a copy. Pallet goes off to Amazon, and we're done. And then it's time to start rolling in those profits. The more you do this, the cheaper your shipping is going to get, the more you ship into Amazon. And going off of that, let's just take a quick look at our total cost here for this shipment. So we have $277.60 for the total LTL shipping cost. Now remember, there is also that placement fee going to the West Coast here of $294. So $294 divided by 600 units is 49 cents per unit. So that is our placement fee per unit to the West Coast. Now we will go ahead and take that $294. which is our placement fee per unit. And the $294 is the placement fee of the entire shipment, which works out to the 49 cents per unit. We will add that $294 to our $277.60 for a grand total of $571.60, which, if you guys recall from earlier in the video, was pretty much spot on with the Amazon estimate. So that is our shipping cost into Amazon. We take $571.60 and divide it by 600, and the cost of that is slightly under $1 per unit, right around 95 cents. So the more inventory you send into Amazon, the cheaper it ends up getting, and that is the whole economies of scale concept. So in total, we have now covered the full process of shipping both small parcel into Amazon using Amazon's partner carrier, UPS. And we have also run an example of shipping LTL, or less than truckload, by pallet to Amazon. We've covered the cost differences of each, the prep requirements of your bottles of soap, and we now know how to ship everything into Amazon from start to finish. And this is the way to grow your Amazon business, guys, is just continue to rinse and repeat this process. So we're at the warehouse here, and believe it or not, about a week or two ago, somebody stole the dock plate that we have. So traditionally, this truck right here, this 53-foot trailer, would have backed up into our dock, and it would have been a seamless unload where the driver would unload the pallet right outside our dock. But what we had to do instead was we have to have the driver come with a lift gate. Now in this particular instance, this driver does not have a lift gate on his truck, so we actually had to manually unload the pallet, meaning we had to break down the pallet on the truck and then manually unload the boxes off onto another pallet on the ground. And when I first started, this is exactly what I was doing. We didn't have any sort of a dock. We didn't even have a warehouse. So at the house, the truck would come to the house and they would come with a lift gate. And if they didn't have a lift gate, we would just have to manually unload everything right then and there. And that's exactly how we've scaled. So there you have it, a complete step-by-step tutorial of how to ship your products into Amazon using both small parcel and LTL. But now that you know how to ship your products into Amazon, in order to grow your business, you need to find more profitable products to sell. So watch this video next where I'll teach you how to find profitable products step by step.